Thank you so much for being here today and joining us for the PhD Symposium. I'm Kelly Garvey. I'm really excited to talk to you about groundwater wells in the West, something that really gets me going. So let's jump in. And I really want to center this talk around this idea that the construction of each groundwater well really gives us incredible insight into local geology and groundwater user decision making. And this is really important in the area yet agriculturally productive Western 17 states because we really rely on it. And so here, picture is showing a well drilling rig drilling next to a field in Tracy, California, where I'm close from. And groundwater wells are really important because they provide water for people. Who grew up on a groundwater well? Nice, right? Looks about like 15% of people, which is actually the amount reflected across the US. 85% of us get our water from public water suppliers, but public water suppliers get their water from groundwater. So we get it from wells like this well that I grew up on in Northern California. And there's also these large production agricultural wells found across the Western United States and the world. And groundwater depletion is a major issue and causes a lot of undesirable effects. Lowering groundwater levels cause wells drying up, causing people to lose access to water, like this man here in Fresno County. There's also effects where we alter the hydraulic gradient. We end up losing rivers and streams and lakes. There's also land subsidence concerns, decreased water quality, and pumping costs, all from lowering groundwater levels. And many, but not all, groundwater users have actually adapted to groundwater level declining by drilling deeper wells. But this trend is not ubiquitous. And I really want to pose the question that extends on my advisor's research that answers, are we actually pumping from different materials in the subsurface if we're drilling deeper? And if so, what are they? And so groundwater wells come from a variety of different materials in the subsurface, from unconsolidated to consolidated to volcanic, and all of them in between. And each of these rock types have unique hydrogeologic properties that influence the amount of water a groundwater well can pump, but also the quality, which is quite important. And from my research, we found that most groundwater wells in the West pump from unconsolidated materials like sand and gravel. Here I'm showing the California Central Valley, our nice big aquifer that we love and is very agriculturally productive. And then also another really important aquifer to agricultural production, the Ogallala, which also heavily taps from these unconsolidated materials, which is kind of not surprising. But what is really important is that we found that many wells are increasingly tapping fine-grained mythologies, which means that in places like California and Central Valley, where we're pumping a lot of groundwater, this is leading to concerns of land subsidence. Major land subsidence is happening here in California and across the United States and world from dewatering these clay layers that leads to permanent compaction. And so here in California, local permitting agencies doing well construction have actually started to use this type of data to understand if new wells going in will cause interference or subsidence. Along with this, we can use lithology and well depth to make inferences about the likely quality of groundwater to understand where we need to use water quality testing resources, because these are expensive. These are precious resources that we need to be able to use appropriately. So with that, I'd like to invite you to reach out if you ever want to talk about groundwater, if you ever want to talk about dogs. I just want to shout out to my co-authors and mentors, Dr. Bren, Giuseppe, Morali, and everyone else. So thank you for your time.
Questions from hydro lovers, not hydrophobes, for Kelly?
I'll also take any dog questions.
So it sounds like you're not only looking at the quantity of water, you're also trying to predict the quality of water you might get from particular types of aquifers?
Yeah, with knowing the lithology that groundwater comes from, in terms of understanding water quality, what it can do is give us insights into users who are potentially at risk in certain areas of, say, if you're in an unconsolidated aquifer and you have a lot of nitrate pollution on the top, and that's able to actually transmit through the aquifer very quickly, even knowing that lithology is important to identify users that are potentially at risk. Or if you're pumping from limestone, you can have a lot of like calcium carbonate buildup, and that really degrades the quality of the groundwater well infrastructure you actually drill, which can lead to degraded steel, which leads to kind of, yeah, a groundwater well you can't always rely on for 50 years, 100 years. There's impacts that the water stored in these lithologies has on that, like also like physical material that groundwater well. So, yeah.
So it isn't just the material, it's also the distance the groundwater is affecting the.
Yeah,
Okay.
but no, physical aquifer is a key factor in understanding like these larger phenomenons of how these pollutants are actually like transporting through aquifers.
Thank you.
Hey, Kelly. Hi. So groundwater wells, they're great, right? But they're really expensive, right? So, how would you decide where to put them? Like, what would be your strategy, right? If I gave you $1 million to put groundwater wells, how would you decide where to put them?
Yeah, I'm fascinated with possible. After starting this research, I've reached out to a lot of well drillers across the Western 17 states to try to understand that kind of same mindset of like, where are we drilling now? Where should we drill now? And a lot of this actually goes into water right and water permitting that my advisor has been working on the last decade or so, and it's something that is really fascinating because it similar to how Zoe was saying, like these agricultural systems, right? Like there's so many different moving parts. Like groundwater wells are like this piece of infrastructure that's encompassed by this water right, drillers, enforcement agencies, groundwater sustainability agencies. And so, yeah, like if I had to drill a well somewhere in the West, though,
You can drill many.
yeah,
You have $1 million. How would you decide?
like yeah, I don't have a good answer, but definitely in an unconsolidated material. That's what I was.